Goose Chasers, guess who's back? Your boy David is here with a solo episode. First and foremost, just wanted to apologize for the last episode and the audio. If y'all listened to it, we just had a Spotify version out, but Dean and I tried to record a podcast in the truck on the way home from North Dakota, and it worked to some degree, but for whatever reason, Dino's audio was way higher than mine, and in the headphones that I had on in the car, it was completely the opposite. I was blaring in the headphones, and Dean, I kept trying to turn him up a little bit, so I'm not really sure what happened there. I apologize for that. I am going to try and go back and edit the audio for that episode to make it a little bit more audio appealing, if you will. But it's kind of a little bit lower on the totem pole from an editing standpoint right now. Currently, we've got a lot of content to get out to you guys. We've got a lot of content also for some of our other clients and whatnot. So, unfortunately, that's going to have to take a back seat for now. But the good news is I'm here with y'all now with better audio, with good audio. Can you hear me good? Does it sound nice? It does in my headphones. It sounds like I'm in a studio somewhere, and I kind of am. But anyway, TAGNBRAG Nation Goose Chasing is brought to you by TAGNBRAG and TAGNBRAG.co, TAGNBRAG Productions, TAGNBRAG Apparel, and TAGNBRAG Land Management. We can all build a better land management plan together. And hopefully over the next couple weeks worth of time, you're going to see our land management plan come to fruition, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We obviously just got back from North Dakota. We can kind of recap that fairly quickly, because I know we did on the last podcast, which the audio sucked. That's why I want to do a little recappage. But Dean and I had a pretty awesome trip to North Dakota. It was a grind. We knew it was going to be going out there for the couple times that we've been out there in October. It's been different. The October lull seems to be in full effect out there, and not having a ton of time to scout, going out there and only giving yourself 5 to 7 days on any trip is really tough, but especially out there when the crops are coming off, everything's changing this time of year, and naturally the deer movement is changing because of that. It makes it tough because every day really seems to be different, and the bucks could be in one spot one day and they could be miles away the next day, and that's just how it is. Corn's coming off, beans are getting cut, and it's just really hard to kind of pinpoint the deer there. So for the first 4 days that we were in North Dakota, man, Dean and I were scratching our head, because literally most of the bucks that we were getting pictures of in September, we couldn't find. I mean, we literally had this property, or the properties that we hunt, we had 10 cameras out, 10 cell cameras out, and another couple non-cell cameras out. And all of that and all of those efforts, along with getting up early, getting on a high rise, scouting from a distance in the morning, going into certain areas, probably getting a little bit more aggressive than we should have in the morning at times, just putting boots on the ground and exploring different pieces of land and different areas of the land that we already hunt throughout the middle of the day, trying to find sign, trying to find something to give us an answer. For the first 4 days, we struggled with extremely. And finally it switched, and it was literally like a light switch. And I think part of that had to do with the red moon. Last Tuesday, the red moon started. And that night, we saw a ton of deer. Both Dean and I saw close to 10 deer apiece. And our trail cameras absolutely blew up. We had 4 or 5 different shooters show up on multiple cameras in the same night. We had deer that we were getting pictures of a mile away in the September show up in a different spot a mile away. We had deer that we were getting pictures of in September across the main highway interstates, literally a couple miles away across the interstate, show up in a different area. It was crazy. But the good thing was the deer were finally there. So we felt like we were onto something. We actually ended up extending the trip for 2 extra days. So we extended the trip twice. And the wives and girlfriends were supportive enough, but not thrilled about that. And naturally speaking, I wouldn't be either. You know, we go out there for a set amount of time. We go out there thinking, and they're thinking that we're going to be out there till a certain date. And, you know, Mother Nature has different things to say about it. So the switch flips a little bit. And, you know, for us, we put a lot of time, effort, money into going out there to begin with. This is our second trip out there. And for us, it felt like we owed it to ourselves to give ourselves that extra time. And so we did. We got closer the second night, or that, you know, the night after, the second night of the red moon, the night after things blew up. And on the last night, unfortunately, I didn't see the buck that I was after. Dean, for the third night in a row, saw the buck that he was after, which was a stud of a deer. And, you know, we unfortunately, we had to pull the plug at some point, and we did. So it was an awesome trip, though, from the standpoint of we learned a ton. I mean, we learned a ton in the first 4 days we were there, just based on what the deer were doing and when the crops were coming off. What seemed like to us, any cut corn within the first couple days of that corn getting cut, the deer were on it, because there was remnants of corn in there. And so when that corn was cut, we would have thought the deer would have vacated, gone to, you know, different areas, found the next cover, whatever. And certainly some of them may have, but others, and a lot of the mature bucks, found sanction somewhere close and ended up then feeding in that cornfield that was cut soon after. So that was one thing that we learned. Another thing that we learned was that what an effect, at least this time of year, that the red moon had on these bucks, because it literally was like they came out of the woodwork. And that was definitely eye-opening for me. I mean, for future trips in October, it certainly told us that if you're going to plan a trip in October to North Dakota, you better be planning it around that red moon, because that's certainly going to give you more of an advantage. And the other thing was, you know, we put down feed in front of some of these trail cameras just to, you know, try and create checkpoints for the deer and just to better understand how they're moving. You know, if you get them on one camera and then they're on the next camera and maybe they're on one more camera before morning, you can kind of start to figure out the circle that they're doing or the core that they're using at that point, and you can make a play off of that. But one thing is for sure, we saw a lot of daylight activity in those last couple days. But one thing was for sure is that the daylight activity was not like the bucks' first reaction or their first inclination was not to go to food when they got up. It was just not. When we were seeing the bucks in daylight, they were getting up, they were destroying any shrubbery, any tree, any branch, any bush in their path. Like the bigger bucks were literally exploiting their dominance, and that's what they were doing. They would then eat later at night, or they'd make a pass, but it wouldn't be for long. You know, if they came and ate, it would be for a couple pictures, and then they would be gone. And in some of the cases on trail camera where we had them on scrapes, we literally saw 2 mature bucks scraping the same scrape under the same licking branch simultaneously. It was crazy. Something that I've never seen in my life before. And I don't know. It was weird how they were tolerating each other. It was weird that like 2 4-plus-year-old bucks, one was definitely 5, at least 5, but 2 mature bucks are tolerating each other to the point where they're eating for a little bit together. Then they're going to another area of the farm and they're literally destroying shrubbery, making rubs, making scrapes, simultaneously making scrapes. Those 2 deer stayed with each other for 24 hours. For 24 hours until the next day, the next evening, Dean went in and he saw them both get up out of their bed a couple hundred yards away And then he watched them both literally destroy every bush, every piece of shrubbery in their path. Wait do you guys see this stuff? We've got vlogs rolling out on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, some of the short content we put on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. But you want to go to our YouTube channel. That's where you're going to get it first. But to be able to watch our season really from right now on is, in my opinion, is powerful, because we let you into everything. We let you into every hunt, every experience that we have, good, bad, or indifferent, whether we see deer, don't see deer, have an encounter with a big buck, shoot a big buck, whatever. Like, you're there with us. So our season and some of this stuff that we're learning along the way is unfolding right in front of our eyes. It's also unfolding right in front of your eyes. So watching this stuff, hopefully you guys can get a little bit from it and utilize it for your own personal benefit and your own hunting. And that's one of the reasons that we do what we do, and why we try and bring things to you as close to live as possible, because we want you to be able to take advantage of what we're doing, the tactics that we're using, what's working for us, what's not working for us. Maybe there's something in one of our vlogs that you pick up that we may not even have thought about that helps you and get you on a certain deer, or sparks an idea of where you could move a trail camera or where you could move a tree stand. I don't know. But I can tell you that from right now through the rest of the season, we're going to be, obviously our content is flying off the shelves. This is our most watched portion of the season. This is also our most, this is the most content that we have flying off the shelf throughout the entire year. So I would highly encourage, if you don't already, to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. But these vlogs, at this point, we got one more launching tonight. Today is Wednesday, obviously. We got one more launching tonight for our North Dakota trip. And then we go into Scrape Week, which Scrape Week is a new thing that we're doing this year. It's the prequel to our Rut Week. It's going to be brought to you by Moultrie Mobile and Code Blue, which are two awesome pieces of equipment, product, whatever that we use right now. Those are probably two of our most utilized tactics and products that we use right now in order to help ourselves get in front of some of these big deer. Trail cameras are a huge thing, especially the cell cameras, because they're giving you the most recent information. And the scrapes that we're utilizing and the scent that we use to hopefully attract deer or get them fired up on the scrapes that we're not only have trail cameras over, but probably hunting over this time of year, it's huge. And the scrapes are so important right now because it's how the deer are communicating. It's how the bucks are trying to figure out what does in their area are coming in, getting close, if there's any getting close. And it's a way for them to kind of create a pecking order amongst themselves to say, okay, Jerry's back here this year. I whooped his ass last year. That won't be a problem. Henry's over here. He gave me a little bit of run for my money, but I'm not too scared of him. But Peter, that mofo, was a bitch. I mean, he came in, neck filled out, kind of whooped my ass. Didn't let him. I'm not gonna admit that he did. But anyway, you get the point. They're starting to communicate with each other and understand where they're going to have success and where maybe they're going to have competition during the rut. That's why the scrapes are so important right now. That's why this week, the prequel to Rut Week in New York, our Scrape Week, is something new that we're doing this year and something that we are extremely excited about, because this is where tactics can really come into play, and where you could sneak out a buck that, maybe you didn't expect, or you were waiting for the rut, to hopefully get your chance. But if you monitor your cameras and you use that most recent information and you do get a buck that is starting to daylight, and if he's daylighting or close to daylight on a scrape, it's time to go right now. The next good wind you have, or set up your stand so that the wind is good. Be willing to move your stand in or around that scrape so that the wind is in your benefit, so that you can just go in for the next hunt. Because I promise you, That's not going to last long. That buck is going to find a doe, and then he's going to be locked up for a couple days. Or he's going to start wandering because there's no doe in the area, and he's going to just want to go find, he's going to follow his nose. So I can't stress enough, the most recent information based on your trail cameras right now is so important. It is so important if you have that like drive, or you have that those goals of shooting a big deer. So that's what we're going to be doing this upcoming week. We got Scrape Week that is coming out. It's going to be brought to you through, or I already said brought to you by, it's going to be broadcasted from New York, Ohio, Tennessee. So you're going to get action from 3 different states, kind of varying the results and varying the tactics a little bit of what we do, but definitely varying the results to be able to see what the deer are doing in certain areas of the country and what stage they're in. They're obviously different up in New York as they are in Ohio, as they are in Tennessee, as they may be in Kentucky, as they could be in North Dakota. You get my point. So just watch it. Just subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow along. We love the comments. We love the feedback that we're getting so far. It is all so motivating to us when somebody drops us a line and just says, hey, thank you, or hey, this helped, or hey, you guys suck. I don't know. Those ones aren't that cool, but you know what I mean? Like, it's fun when it's interactive. It's fun when it's interactive. That's what social media is for. That's why we put this content out, so that it can be interactive for you, and it should be. So if you got something to say it. Drop us a line. Drop us a comment. Shoot us a DM, whatever your means of communication is, or whatever you're comfortable with. But don't be silent. Get involved in this. It's fun. We're hunting together. That we're bringing it to you because we are hunting together, and we want to keep it that way. So let's keep it that way. How about that? Excuse me. But yeah, I'm excited for this upcoming week. I'm actually going down to check some cameras down in Tennessee at the lease that I have today. And I'm going to be, I'm kind of resetting some of the cameras. I have 2 cameras that are just on trails, and I want to go down and try and find a couple more scrapes. I got 3 cameras on this property. I got one on a rope-a-dope that's been working pretty well, and the other 2 are just on trails right now because the last time I moved them was a couple weeks ago, probably beginning of October, and they just weren't scraping quite as much down here yet. There's definitely been more bucks that have shown up on camera down here. Uncle Jay's he's shifted his cameras and moved them to more scrapes, and he's getting different deer than he's seen all summer on camera right now, and consistently. So that's all good as well. And that just kind of shows you what the state of the whitetail woods is in right now. Like, if you've only got a couple cameras, you've got to put boots on the ground. You've got to go find some active scrapes, and you got to get those cameras on scrapes. And if you don't have any active scrapes, then what I would suggest to do is to find a well-traveled trail, or entry and exit trails in or out of a food plot or some sort of feeding source, and make a mock scrape in that area and see what happens. Use the code Blue Sense. I don't know that if I would necessarily use estrus right now, but we're a couple days from being able to start to throw that estrus down and getting bucks fired up. What I would like to use right now is definitely the pre-orbital. Love that pre-orbital because that's the way that the bucks communicate. So by using that pre-orbital in the licking branches, all of a sudden you just tell the buck that has been consistently checking that scrape, or maybe he hasn't consistently checked that scrape, and he's just a passerby, that there is another sheriff in town, and that he does have some competition, and that if he does want the doe that's about to start stanking up that area, that he's going to have to come check this scrape pretty regularly in order to be the first one to smell her out. So the pre-orbital is what I love right now. Basically, the combination that I'm going to be using today, is the preorbital and the buck urine. Once again, I want any buck in that area to know that there's another buck in that area that is willing to challenge him, and that he better start monitoring that area a little bit more readily and a little bit more frequently. Otherwise, he's going to lose out on his chance at the honeys. That's the motive that I'm going in with. Probably more towards the end of this weekend is when I'll start using that estrus. I don't know that there's a ton of doe in right now, although Uncle Jay had a sit earlier this week right behind his house where he literally watched, he saw a shooter that he's never seen before trailing a doe into a thicket, watched them go into that thicket, and then he's watching over this big open pasture ground, and he watched 7 different bucks get into that pasture, eventually cross her trail, about face, and end up taking her trail directly into where that shooter took her into the thicket. Pretty incredible to me. I mean, that was October 20th or 21st, so that's pretty early. But I mean, like you've got to be willing to observe and know that, like, that doe is hot, obviously. If she's not hot, she's darn close. And she's got a little stank going because it was enough to not just 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I'm LeBron James in Miami. Not 5, not 6, but 7. 7 different bucks now cross that path, and we're like, that smells good enough to investigate. I mean, call a spade a spade. I don't really know what you think about that, but in my head, I'm going, she's hot. I know it's early, but she's hot. That's all that says to me. So definitely not too early to start using some of that estrus scent. I probably personally won't use it until later this week. We're supposed to get a cold front in the beginning of next week. So I'm really looking forward to that and kind of sitting that out for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think. And that's when I'll really fire up the estrus scent and get that flourishing out into the timber where they can smell it and come running from the high heavens and hopefully give me a shot opportunity. I would love to kill a buck prior to rut week. That would be fantastic. Really, as a team, if one of us could do it, that would be wonderful. If my dad, Uncle Jay, Dean, or myself could knock one down prior to rut week during scrape week, that would be phenomenal. And then kind of go into rut week with some high hopes and high motivation. I think that would be just stupendous. So that's kind of the plan that we're going with right now. I'm trying to think of what else we can talk to you about. Sorry, Dino just sent me this video. Hilarious. He's a trip. This kid is a trip. He actually saw a nice buck. He passed up a really nice buck in Ohio last night. For all you YouTubers on here, you can see this. I'm playing it on the screen right now. I mean, heavy deer. Not a huge scoring deer, but heavy buck. The kid's got some balls, I'll tell you that much. He is the king of passing bucks. I don't know if I would have done it with my, it's a little bit more of a lack of time in Ohio, I would say, but probably just the big 3-year-old. His mask kind of says otherwise, but that's just, that's what I'm thinking. So good that he was on his feet in daylight. Once again, not hard to use that most recent information to your advantage. Saw one in there in daylight. He's going back in there. I don't know if he's going to make it in there tonight. I think the wind is bad. But tomorrow night, he's going to be back in there and sitting on because that buck was coming right to a scrape in the afternoon before dark. So if that gives you any inclination of really what you should be honing in on right now, that's it. And like it's hard not to get discouraged right now if you're not seeing good buck activity on your cameras. If you're not, move them. Move them. It may, like literally in North Dakota, this is what happened. The one night, Dean and I were sitting, and we just went to this cornfield. It was half cut, half not. We sat in the corn overlooking the cut corn, and we had a trail camera right outside of the standing corn, and kind of in a pinch point where they normally come out of this kind of tall CRP grass. Actually, it's right where Dean shot Jack Daniels last year in Velvet in September. So we were kind of set up on stuff that we already had success on in September. And what we learned was the deer were coming out of this woodlot probably 250 yards away, and they were pouring out into this cut corn. We had to have seen 10 or 11 deer, one nice buck. They were pouring out into this cut corn, and they would come out of the timber. I mean, it's only a small block of trees, but they would come out of there, and they would go into this cut corn, and they would literally, on a dead walk, go right out into the middle of this massive, massive cut cornfield. I mean, this cornfield is cut corn was close to 1,000 acres. They would literally go out into the middle of it, and they were just perfectly fine feeding out there, out in the middle of nowhere, basically. So what we did was we took our trail camera and we moved it 250 yards to where we saw the deer coming out of. We got deer on camera right away, and there was a good buck in there that I ended up hunting the last 3 nights that we were up there. And it was one of the bucks that we literally not watched, but it was one of the bucks that we had crossing the interstate, literally a main freeway, crossing the main freeway from another piece of property that we hunted in September, where we were getting the same deer on camera in September. So read the cameras. Like, if you've got trail cameras out right now, read the cameras and do what they are telling you, whether they are giving you the information that you want or that you want to see or not. Because if your camera is not getting pictures of deer and you're getting frustrated, that's giving you enough information to tell you it's time to move on and go find something else. Go put boots on the ground, find a scrape, or go shuffle the camera a couple trails over, or go to the other corner of this food plot. Whatever the case may be, that camera is telling you something. If you're not getting them on camera right now, have the courage. Move it. Move the camera. If you're not seeing them in stand right now, maybe you need to move that stand. And just read the deer. Read the information that is being given to you and use it. Don't be afraid. Don't do it. So, yeah. But I'm excited. I mean, this is the time of year where now we're getting more into your advantage is going to be your most recent information. Your advantage is also going to be the time that you're willing to or can put in the tree stand. The more time you put in, the more opportunities that you're going to create for yourself. So I personally love sitting all day. I love it. I love going in knowing like this is going to be a mental war for the next 10 to 12 hours because I got a couple Sangies packed and I ain't getting out of here until either it gets dark or until he comes by and I shoot his ass. That to me is fun. And when it gets to November, it's tough for me to get out of a tree because I'm like, as soon as I get out, I'm like, am I giving something up? Like, what if he runs over the hill? Like, what if he shows up on that trail camera that's right in front of the stand? What if? All those what ifs. And the way that I eliminate that what if in the negative is to stay there, to be there, and let it happen. And if it doesn't happen, I'm like, well, at least I know that I ruled that out. But getting out, going to take a nap, going to have lunch, I mean, yeah, it's gratifying in the moment, but what's more gratifying is holding that buck after an 8-hour sit, after a 5-hour sit, when you're eating your sangy at 12:30 in the afternoon and all of a sudden the leaves start crunching and the whole woods blows up right in front of your eyes. That, to me, that's rewarding. That's gratification. And this time of year, that's what I'm seeking. The chase is it, though. The chase is it. There's nothing that I love more than the chase. So, with the chase being on, and with every day getting better, just know that we are with you in spirit. We are with you in motivation and inspiration. You're not alone in that tree stand of yours, sitting up there with your little Debbies and your nice thermos of hot cocoa, sitting up there with your leftover cutlet sangy from the night before, where the mayo and the lettuce and the cheese, it all just kind of forms and congeals into one with the cutlet and the Italian bread that's getting soft and it's cold in your bag because it's only like 35 degrees out. And you take that thing out of your bag and it's all smashed because your cameras and all your shit was just sitting on top of it. And it literally looks like you just it looks like you just got in your truck and sat on your sandwich. And anybody else in the world that you would present this sandwich to would be like, I'm not eating that. But in that moment, you take that thing out of the plastic bag and you get that whiff of Italian bread, provolone, and leftover cutlet. And you take a bite into that mushy, gushy, congealed, what somebody else would consider a piece of rubbish. And you're like, oh, wow. That is good. And it is good. It's good. That's good. And it fills your tummy. And then you have energy for the last 5 hours of the day. So when that buck does run up over that hill, chasing that doe, and your height of emotion and your energy and your heart rate goes from 60 beats a minute to 160 beats every 45 seconds, you're able to maintain composure. You're able to pull your bow back. You're able to settle that pin. And you're able to release that arrow. And it's perfect. And it goes right behind the shoulder. And you watch that hole expand. And you know, with that entry, he ain't going far. And when you hear them crash and them leaves, you think, it was all because of that cutlet sandwich. I'm so grateful that I didn't get out of the woods. I'm so grateful that I made that cutlet sandwich the night before. I'm so grateful for every part of the congealing being of that thing and the fact that it all formed into one. I'm so grateful that I opened it up and took a bite because it gave me the energy I needed and the mental capacity that I needed to sit here and stay for a couple more hours. And now we're going home to make more cutlets. It's beautiful, folks. It's what November's all about, really. It's what November's all about in the whitetail woods. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. So, with that being said, get your vacation time. Get your weekend time. Whatever you got to do, clear the schedule whenever you can dedicate yourself to the bush. Pack yourself a sandwich. Pack yourself some snacks, something to hydrate yourself, and stay. It will be worth it. This is the best time of year, folks. This is the best time of year, and it does not last long. So cherish it, soak it in, enjoy every last moment, embrace the suck. When you're on stand and you're going, Man, I was listening to that podcast, Goose Chasing. David was telling me to stay in here, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon, and I haven't seen a friggin' deer yet. And I already ate my cutlet sandwich like 4 hours ago because I was hungry at 9:30 in the morning. And now that's gone, and I only got a granola bar left. What the hell is that going to do? That's not even going to fill a squirrel up. I could eat a freaking walrus right now, but I'm in here with my stupid granola bar, not seeing shit. Just think. Embrace the suck, because the season can change and will change for you in an instant. And you know what's even better? You don't get to dictate that. You don't get to choose when that deer runs over the hill. You don't get to choose when he comes and checks that scrape. You don't get to choose when that doe, who's smelling like all sorts of goodness to that buck, comes running around in circles around your stand, doing loop-de-loos, laying a scent trail that these bucks can smell from miles away. And now all of a sudden, you're in the war zone. You're sitting in the war zone. You don't get to control any of that. The only thing you can control is being there, being present, being mentally stable enough to calm yourself down to make a good shot, pulling your bow back, and releasing a good arrow. That's the only thing that you can control. So, just be there. Do me a favor. Just be there. Sit that extra hour. Sit that extra 30 minutes. Sit that extra day if you can. Because I can promise you one thing. In late December, January, whenever your season ends, couple weeks before the season, it's freezing cold outside. You can't even feel your fingertips. And if you could barely use them because it's so damn cold. Your toes feel like they got frostbite. Them things might as well just get chopped off. And you know what? Your buck that you're hunting is nocturnal. You know why? Because he got chased around by the Orange Army for 3.5 weeks. He got a bullet that grazed the back end of his right ham. He's got scars from the bucks that he's been fighting for a month and a half. And he doesn't want to come eat your friggin' corn at 4:30 while you're sitting in that stand looking like a rock in a tree because you're wearing Sitka in the middle of the open hardwoods. I don't know what to tell you, but you're going to wish that you had that extra day, that extra hour, that extra time where you got out of the woods for lunch or to take a nap. You're going to wish that those hours that sucked in the stand were back because you had the opportunity for some stupid buck to run over the hill oblivious to anything in the world, especially you, your bow and arrow up in that tree, come stopping at 15 yards, nose in the air, paws on the ground, and you let one rip. You're not going to get that surprise. All you're going to have is no toes, frozen fingers, a pissed off attitude, and a buck that's nocturnal. So just think about it and enjoy that time. When we don't get this time very often, it goes by fast, but while it's here, enjoy it, people. Enjoy it to the fullest. And that's what we're going to do, and we're going to bring all the content to you. So once again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and hey, God bless bow hunting. Get in the woods when you can, and we'll see y'all right back here next Wednesday. I love each and every one of you. If you can hear that, that's my tummy rumbling. I need a cutlet sangy. Y'all, it's been real. Happy hunting. Good luck. Stay in, and we'll see y'all next Wednesday. Peace.